Alright guys, it's Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Shotzzy reveals that Neptune apologized to him for the rock glitch that happened in the grand finals of the $75,000 Invitational. Does that make any difference, however, to Merc's opinion that it is whatever it takes coming out of that franchise going into this season? But also Pred having a few thoughts on his new teammate Cellium, some questions over the last couple of years about Cellium's comms. Pred is either convinced that's not the case, or this is somewhat tongue-in-cheek. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Wanted to start here real quick because Miami on, well, my British brain, this is the 12th of April, but of course 4th of December, and they're dropping this new jersey, and well, they've got everything confirmed here. So excited to see. We know that the FaZe jersey has been not leaked, they actually just straight up announced it. It's very pink, the FaZe jersey, what they're going to be cooking up this year, Heretics. Whether Heretics can be as good as last year, I think that's another key question of the season, right? Because Heretics were a real force, they were a driving force of the narrative last year, and they had some great rivalries. Certainly with Thieves towards the end of the season, things got very spicy. Yeah, they never made a finals, they never won, but they were a key factor. Raincore and Super especially made some serious impact last year. This year, though, no ReeaL. He's been taken by Toronto. They've got Trakes in instead. It's probably going to take him a bit of time to, if they can get to the level that they had last year, it's probably going to take them a bit of time to get there. Are Raincore and Super going to be as good? I think that's also another question because, you know, they were really, really good last year. And not to say that they've got worse as players or whatever, but just sometimes you have a year where you're just godlike. And next year you might still be very good, but not quite as good. And who knows, right, what we'll see on this game. I'm not worried about Raincore and Super exactly, but it's like when they've come in their first year, they've been super impactful. There are questions as to whether they're going to be able to maintain that. And also Raincore was linked to FaZe for some time, but as we know, that never ended up happening. There was also this clip I wanted to share. So Clayster was talking a little bit about the new PCs. This season, they have finally upgraded the PCs. Now, they have needed to for some time. The PCs that they used to be using were, you know, well, some say that they were terrible, some say that they weren't completely atrocious, but it wasn't far off. And they've changed them up this year. So the PCs they used to use were like these massive Alienware looking ones that looked like they had terrible cooling, I'm not going to lie. You see them around all these CDL events. And I think they used to be used at the Overwatch League, but we are talking now like 7 or 8 years ago. Like these are very old PCs that just about got the job done, but it was always controversial because the players would be playing COD from their own setup at home, streaming ranked or whatever. They'd be pulling easily very consistent frames, no frame drops, anything like that on their own PCs. But then when they go and play on the CDL ones to scrim and of course to play the actual matches, then they had issues with frames and consistency. Of course the pros always want the best stuff. Giving the pros the brand new PCs with all the best stuff every single year, that's probably a bit much, certainly in this poverty league. But they have coughed up the funds to make that happen this season. Maybe the CDL will mention this when we get some lands underway as well, that they've made some big moves here. But Clay says, look, it's a big change. The old ones were terrible, and at least now we're in a significantly better spot than we were. So should at least mean more consistency across the board. The best team is going to win more often.
Just what this guy is able to do.
Yeah, oh, I heard they got new PCs. Yeah, the league. What you got over there?
Much better.
It'd be a shame if they blow up.
Well, what are the specs? I'm curious.
Don't y'all have like 5080s or something?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I don't know the exact specs, so I'll have to actually look them up. We can actually get steady 250 frames, which on those old ones, you're lucky if you got 200.
Do you have 240 hertz monitors?
Yeah, well, they're new monitors too.
So what's the monitor?
How do we do the flank?
The other couple of clips I wanted to share here are as follows. So we did this documentary, Rise and Fall of the FaZe Dynasty, on the Breaking Point channel. If you guys want to go check it out on YouTube after this. And Fred was watching it on stream a couple of days ago. And, well, he was having a pretty good time with some of these clips, actually. It is funny looking back in the day at this, you know, the Cell. Wow, I mean, the Cellium headset hair went crazy in the Cold War season, not going to lie. So that's his teammate now, right? So Pred and Cellium, they're now boys. They're on the Falcons together. How are they going to get on this season? It was a very up and down start to Black Ops 7 for them because the first couple of days wasn't looking great. Then they actually, you know, Pred went on to win a pretty notable tournament. So it looked like, okay, maybe they're back, as it were. but then they played in the 75k kickoff and they got bopped out by Doug Sintermartin reverse swept. So it wasn't really a great start. I didn't expect much else at this stage of the game for that team, but it is very important because we know that there's a fair bit of money flying around that team. We don't know Cellium's salary, but it's something. We think it's like 650, 700k on a yearly basis. I don't think Preds is that much, but it's probably not a million miles away. I imagine that, well, Xnid and Kismet are probably getting paid reasonably enough, you would imagine as well. Probably the same story with the coach. So if you add up the salaries, I would be shocked if Falcons aren't the highest paid team in the league. Certainly, they have the highest paid individual in the league, and they need to deliver some results because of that. Because if they don't, changes will happen, right? And also it is kind of interesting for Preds because he was the face of that team. Maybe he still is in some respects, but I don't think he's now the highest paid player anymore. So if push comes to shove and, you know, changes need to be made or whatever, then they probably will say, hey, Cell, what do you want to do, right? Because they're not just going to drop Cellium after paying him all this money. So it's an interesting spot. They obviously need to deliver some sort of results this season. They've started to spend some serious money now, the Falcons, and if they don't get the results this year, then, well, they will have to think about exactly what that looks like. But there was a pretty interesting clip that came out a couple of months back now where Simp was asked in the off-season, does Cellium have good comms? Because now they'd broken up, Cell was out of there, and Simp was staying on FaZe, so Chance was asking him some pretty federal questions, and Simp says, realistically, no. Cell's comms aren't good. It's something that we've worked through. Some of the guys that have teamed with him before on, like, FaZe Clan back in Black Ops 4 and stuff would say that, yeah, his comms, not that they were good, but he was audible. Like, you could hear what he was saying once you get used to it. But that's pretty much as good gas as Cell's comms ever got. I think that was what was funny, right? Trey would say this on the show, on Dope Check, Zero, that like, well, yeah, you could hear Cellium, you could understand him once you got used to it. But it never went as far to say that what he was actually comming was any good, right? Because there's two parts to this. There's, can you hear what your teammate is saying? Which is like, okay, well, you need to, first of all. And with Cellium, people say that, yeah, you can, once you kind of get used to the way that he talks, which is a little bit different to most players. But then is he actually comming good stuff? Right? I think that's the other point. Like, is he just saying things that you either don't need to know or have said a million times before? Is he doing the small talk in the right way? And I'm sure that he's improved at it. I'm sure that he's worked on it. It's clearly been a conversation that they will have had at FaZe over the last few years. But Simp was pretty adamant that no, Cell's comms aren't very good. But Pred says, got nothing to worry about, lads.
There was never a situation where we were telling MC like his comms are terrible. I feel like it was a team.
Right, MC's comms are godlike, bro. Wait, what? MC's got the best comms in the fucking league, baby.
I don't think anybody could. But
I hear him clear as day, baby.
The Neptune rock glitch, he apologized to me after. I don't really care like that much, like, to be honest, just because
whatever it takes.
I mean, like, I don't really know. My take on it is that it's the beginning of the game. He's probably using it, like, this is his only time to use it before it gets GA'd. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's kind of just, like, abusing it. Which, like, I mean, I don't really care, to be honest. Like, because this happened in Vanguard. Did you know that? In Vanguard, there was a Berlin.
Like, you should know not to do that.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I would never
trust me. You should definitely know not to do that, obviously. But, like, I mean, honestly, it's just karma. That's the way I look at it. Use a glitch spot. We end up winning the series. We'll take it. But yeah, nothing. Yeah, people were saying that he's stair glitch, but this is not really a stair glitch.
No, it wasn't a stair glitch.
He's like, okay, obviously, like, it looks like a stair glitch, but
it's not. You can say, yeah, that's just a rat spot.
Yeah, yeah. He's playing a spot. He's playing, like, the way that it worked out is exactly how he wanted it to do.
Yeah, like you could see, you could have seen him and killed him. Like, a stair glitch is when, like, he's on the heady and he's, like, unshootable.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Like, yeah.
No, the way he played it, like, he did exactly what he wanted to do, which was, like, be way less elevated on the stairs just to, like, shotgun.
You're allowed to sit at the bottom of the stairs.
You know, that's not like a stair glitch. That was, I mean, the entire chat was just tripping, to be honest. But it was a good series, bro. I think scrims leading up to that were obviously really good.
Game 7.
So the way that Pred says this, pretty clear, I think, that maybe there are, some concerns or issues, not like issues, but I think Pred recognizes that, look, still probably doesn't have the best comms, but is that going to be a problem for the Falcons? Not necessarily, if they can still lock in and just slay their way out of trouble, but I don't think that's going to happen all that often against some of the top teams. The other clip, of course, was on Neptune, because this was a very interesting moment from the tournament the other day when Neptune was hiding in the rock. Look, he knew what he was doing. This was not an accidental spot. And I also think as a pro player, you know that this isn't fair, right? Now, I know that there was lots of debate on other spots. Shotzzy had a jump spot on Den. Was that an unintended line of sight? That's a question. But this was so egregious that as a player, you know you're cheesing. You know that you're probably going beyond the limit. Look, it's a glitch. There were no clear rules in play. As Perk says, whatever it takes, baby, whatever it takes for this team. And that might be what we see this season, right? Look, Ghosty thought that Neptune was doing a bit of snaking, a bit of stair glitching, or whatever it was back at the World Cup this year. He then called him out for it. Neptune then said, well, actually, I wasn't doing any of that. So, Ghosty, you're seeing ghosts, effectively. But look, Neptune obviously is a cheeser, and we see it right here in full force the other day when, he hides in the spot, has the whole of the bomb site covered. And it's also a very notable strategy, right? Because, well, you can see, because Neptune is laying down here, he knows he's got the whole of B covered, so number 7 Envoy is free to just hit the full wrap. So it's not just like Neptune does this without telling his teammates, right? Like, I think they know what's going on as well as he does. Funny thing is, of course, as it turns out, they went on to lose the map regardless, and they lost the series. And that's what Shotzzy says. He's like, well, look, I don't really feel any type of way about it. I think probably because you won, maybe Shotzzy would be less cordial if they'd lost the series, but as Shotzzy says, look, at the end of the day, you pretty much used a glitch, cheat spots, as it were, lost anyway, so that's karma, right? But I also understand that Shotzzy is not going to be too mad about it, because this type of stuff is also part of the game. This one was particularly outrageous, but I do think that in terms of spots and unintended line of sight and maybe things that you can mantle to or jump on that maybe you shouldn't be able to, there will be more of that to come, and Shotzzy will probably be using some of it at some point. So, this, I think the CDL will have to find a way to make it very clear that such very deliberate glitch spots, it may always have to be a little bit subjective, right? I don't know. Maybe the CDL could go through and say, okay, this spot is banned, this spot is allowed, and that's fine. But I think it's also okay to give general stories and say, all right, this type of spot, if you're deliberately hiding in a glitch spot or whatever, then, that is not going to be allowed. If it's a pixel walk, that's not going to be allowed. If it's somewhere that you can wall bounce and jump and seemingly mantle to, then maybe that's okay depending on some sort of referee discretion. It's very difficult to have an incredibly black and white rule for all of this stuff. Like the spot that Shotzzy had on Den, some would say that was unfair, something that is perfectly reasonable. The CDL will have to make some sort of decision on that at some point if somebody does it in a proper game. So, we've got now a good week and a bit still, pretty much a week today actually, the CDL gets underway right at the start of December. So the CDL has a week to figure out what we're going to do about these spots. Whether they're actually going to do that or whether they're just going to sit on their hands for the next week, I know where my money is. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.